And welcome. I'm Bill Newell, along with Phil Stacy, the executive sports editor of the Salem News, and Matt Williams, assistant sports editor of the Salem News. And we're kind of light with the vacation schedule this week. That tends to happen in the summer. Still, actually happens in the summer, even in the year 2020, apparently. So, gentlemen, welcome. Yeah, good to see you guys.
It's happening.
Well, I guess
Bill.
the big news of the week was the MIAA had a meeting earlier this week. In that meeting, I'm going to just condense it to the very simplest one or two sentence summary is that fall sports will not start until September 14th at the earliest, knowing that school needs to start. And the thinking was, as I have it, is that they didn't want anybody testing positive in preseason workouts in August going into the stuff without school having even started yet. So it seems like that at least is a smart first step. Who knows what will happen, but nothing will happen until September 14th, not even the first practice. How did I do?
Willie, you were on the call. Why don't you start and I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah,
that's about right. I mean, I think that basically it was a punt. You know, the MIA doesn't want to make any decisions. All the sports specific stuff's going to be up to the alphabet soup committees that the governor has, DESCEEA, and the same people that are making the decisions about youth sports right now. If they say a sport's a go, then it'll be a go for high school. If they say it's not, then it won't be. So you just have to hope that those alphabet soup committees have people involved that are, know things about sports, that are advocating the ways we can modify rules in order to play. And, the more I think about it, I find it to be a little discouraging. I think that the MIAA's COVID task force and the state's athletic directors are going to be a lot more knowledgeable about sports than maybe people at these other places that don't deal with sports all the time, for whom sports are not a priority. And the idea that the MIA has agreed to adopt these people's recommendations without having first seen these people's recommendations feels like, to me, the best word I can use for it is punt. So they're going to schedule another board of directors meeting within 3 days of when these committees release their findings, which is supposed to be the first week of August. So we'll know a lot more in the coming weeks, but, based on the restrictions we've seen for youth sports, it's hard to be very optimistic that anything's actually going to happen on September 14th for me, just knowing that there's no fall baseball, and that's really the only thing that's allowed in the state right now. So, if they're not allowing youth soccer, I can't see them allowing high school soccer, which, may or may not make sense, but these are the people making the decisions, because the MIA has said we're going to just do what the governor says. We're not going to make those determinations ourselves.
So that's a liability issue that they don't want to get into. That would be my guess there. My thinking is, I know you hear different theories bandied about as far as, some sports might be able to play, some sports might not. Some sports might have to get moved to the spring. If all can't play, none will play. My thought on that would be play what you can. If there's anything that we are able to play, we should be able to do it. I certainly don't see why high school golf wouldn't be able to play. There's certainly golfing, not just in this state, but around the country. And it seems to be fairly safe. I haven't heard, not that I'm saying there isn't, but I haven't heard of any, certainly any COVID-related deaths from anybody playing golf. But people getting sick on the course and all certainly leads to social distancing. You're outside and whatnot. So that should be a go. I still say the staggered cross country would be staggered times for runners participating in cross country. That could be a go. I think maybe volleyball. I know it's indoors, but if the players wore gloves, that might not be a bad way to get that sport played. And perhaps even field hockey. I don't know. I think soccer and football are going to be the two big ones that'll be the most challenging to try to get through. I know every coach I talk to is certainly hopeful that there is a way that these sports are played and they find a way to keep it safe and all. I think one thing we have to look at, guys, and this is a very real possibility that I don't hear brought up a lot, but if and when there are high school sports this fall, I'm guessing there are going to be no spectators there, no parents, no fellow students, anything like that. Essential personnel. Hope certainly media can go, but I'm guessing that will probably be the case if and when there are sports allowed. Did they talk about that at all, Willie?
No, and I don't think I think it'll be limited, but I mean, you see people social distancing at Little League games that are going on right now. So I think, are you going to be able to have 10,000 people for a Prep Everett game? No, but I think you're going to allow parents and that's it. I think it's going to be like your high school graduations where you have limited tickets, right? So not everybody in the family can come. Each kid on the team gets 2 people and you got to spread out. I don't think that would be a problem. Based on what we've seen at Little League and the fact that we're not seeing, to my knowledge, any outbreaks from people sitting in the outfield spread apart to watch Little League. So that'd be my guess, but they didn't address that at all. No.
I do like that, and they've continued to do this, I feel like, since mid-March, really, when this started. The MIA has been pretty good about being proactive, not only with the COVID task force, but also trying to put plans and restrictions in place if there is a go. We're going to have let's say for football, a 5-game regular season. They haven't talked about potential playoffs or anything, or soccer, we're going to have a 12-game season or that kind of thing. So I think it's good that they have a lot of contingency plans so that they're ready to go. I think that the worst thing that could happen would be if some guidelines came down and they weren't prepared. So by having a lot of different plans, a lot of what if plans, let's call them, I think those are all good things so that if and when they do get the green light on some or all of these fall sports, they will be ready to go and hopefully done in a safe way.
I think the other thing too, I did hear the governor briefly this week in one of his press conferences, and I mean, he's talking about starting school. And that's not the case in some parts of California, for example, where they've ruled out starting school altogether for September or August, September, whenever they do start out there. Starting it in some way. We don't know how that will look. Again, you run into the situation where if Phil Stacy's a student and he can only go Monday and Wednesday to school, and Matt Williams is a student and he goes Tuesday and Thursdays, are they all supposed to show up at 3:00 out on the football field to practice together? When they don't, when they can't be in the same school at the same time, I've said that all along. I wonder about how that plays out, and I think that's kind of the discouraging piece here. That, however, having said that, I have been by an area private school, high school, in the last twice in the last week, and one day I saw their practice fields. They must be running some kind of a clinic there, packed with kids. So things are going on as we speak right now. And, that's, and so I haven't heard any problems. So we'll see how this plays out. I think, that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too. There was a tweet from one of the coaches associations today. It's like kids are going to be outside. So do we want them under the supervision of adults with safety measures in place? Or do we want them just getting out of school and going out and doing whatever they want without supervision? Maybe it's going to, may not be perfectly safe, but it's certainly going to be safer with adult supervision and, the safety measures in place in structure than it would be without. So that's a thing, but I don't know. I'm not, when we were doing this in the spring, I was very bullish it was going to happen. And now this is, I think, the 5th or 6th different time I've written a story that says the MIAA says sports will start on this date. And it's really beaten me down. I'm very pessimistic. Fool me once, shame on me. And this feels like just another date that they've just posted that just, is going to get moved back again. And really just, I mean, I just don't feel real good about it, guys. I just don't.
Well, the reality is a little bit it's out of their hands. I mean, as you said, it's up to the DC and the the EEA that is going to determine this. Hopefully we hear around August 1st, if not a little bit afterwards. But as much as we all are focused on the athletic aspect of things, they have to take into account, I think, the overall student population in each town, each city, across the state first. It does bring up some interesting questions, though. Let's say if if Lynn was, just say, remote learning, and
Right.
Saugus was in-person learning, would they necessarily still be able to play each other on a day where maybe half the English or classical students uh, hadn't practiced for half the week, kind of thing? I know I'm spitballing here, but it makes you wonder, does each conference come up with a plan? If that's the case, if different school districts have different back to school plans, whether it's hybrid, learning at home, or strictly in building.
I kind of feel that, Willie's kind of right in one regard, is that if kids are going to go back to school or not go back to school, they're going to be out together. They might be safer being in a structured activity opposed to an unstructured activity. Case in point, there's a lot of data out there that's saying that they could reopen schools. If you look around the world at some of the data, we'll see how that plays out. We'll probably learn more in the next month as well as more studies come in on that piece. But having said that, Phil, I think I've said the kind of the same thing as well, is that, again, if Lynn doesn't have school, just using that as an example,
Right.
they're not going to have athletic teams either. I mean, that's a given. I mean, I can't imagine they would have athletics if they're not going to be in the school building. That's not going to happen. So, again, that's just my take on it, but, so there's a lot we don't know. Again, as I go back to earlier, I do think, though, there's going to be a push. There is a push from the governor to start school in some way this school year. So that's the push. Whether something happens at the end of the day, at the end of August, that postpones it, that could be. But as of right now,
is the state going to look at all extracurriculars? Because kids need extracurriculars, right? But are they going to look at sports differently? I don't know. The state has to decide something as simple as before school and after school programs, that babysitting, for lack of a better term, a lot of towns have things like that they might not be able to run. That's just as important to families as sports. So, I mean, and that's why
you mean like the child care where they have, say, like the YMCA come in and
sure, yeah, early drop off, late drop off, before school, they might,
Right.
maybe kids are doing arts and crafts. Maybe they're taking a Chinese class, learning a foreign language, whatever it is, because school starts at 9 and mom and dad have to go to work at 8 kind of thing, and that's, they're talking about potentially wiping that out, which, for safety and overcrowding and things like that. So, I mean, are they going to look at sports separately, or are they going to lump them in with all the extracurriculars? That's what we don't know. And I mean, I guess I can only hope that behind the scenes, the MIAA and the athletic people do have influence, even if they're leaving the decisions with these other people, because I just think, you hope that they're going to the experts. If you're going to experts on childcare, you want to talk to the people that are running daycare right now. If you're going to the experts on sports, you want to go to the people that are in the MIAA. That's my
feeling. Come to this podcast, we could tell them.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I just, all due respect to, the various PhDs that are running the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, but, their main focus is going to be the MCAS. I don't expect them to know anything about high school sports. Just like I don't know anything about the standardized testing machine, so go to the experts, I guess, would be my hope, that, that the MIA people are really involved behind the scenes, even though they don't want to be seen as decision makers.
I think they're getting rid of the MCAS, Matt, too, temporarily anyway.
I was the only one. I never cared. Give me the test. I'll take it. I don't, it's a huge furor to me. My class was the first class that had to pass it. I never understood what the big deal was. I just, take the stupid test and move on. I mean, but I've digressed.
Well, Phil, you want to let's touch on a couple of other stories that you've covered in the last week or looking ahead and so on. Jack Straw, tell us about that story from Beverly.
Oh, Jake Straw.
Jake, yeah.
Yeah, Jake was a member of the 2014 Beverly High State Championship hockey team. Not just a member, but a valuable member, who passed away this past week unexpectedly at his family's home in Beverly. And that was really sad. Certainly the first member of that team passed away. God, I mean, that was only 6 years ago that he was a senior on that team and they won. And it's funny you say Jake was a third line left winger. Like, how valuable could he be? Well, he started on the team in goals. That's how deep that team was, and he fit perfectly on an all senior line. Skated a regular shift, was a grinder, got his nose dirty, went to the net, good with the puck on his stick, great teammate, beloved by his fellow teammates. And when I tweeted out the sad news I'd heard early this week, I remembered that when I interviewed him during that playoff run that, Willie and I covered, I think it was before the North final. That was the one up in Lowell, Willie, where they hammered Tewksbury like 9-1.
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right? Yeah. And I did a story on Jake that at the time the assistant coach Justin Sheard said, "Oh, you got to talk to Jake. He's a great kid. He's got a great story." He was obviously passionate about hockey, but he was really, really passionate about animals. And he talked about how he loved wolves because his grandfather had taken him to like a wildlife sanctuary. I want to say it was in Ipswich when he was younger, and people didn't understand wolves. And he had a shepherd who, he loved, and he talked about how he wanted to get into the field and whatnot. So I really thought he was pretty deep for a kid who was, 17, 18 years old at the time. He thought like an adult almost. And, like I said, he scored in that game that sent him to the state final. Of course, was part of that team that beat Medfield for the state title at TD Garden. First and only state hockey championship in Beverly High history. So that was a huge loss for the Beverly hockey community and Beverly at large. Such a vibrant young person like Jake. I know that a lot of his teammates have spent a lot of time together since his death, kind of being with each other, trying to cope with it and all. So just a tough thing. But I think it should be remembered that he was a great kid. He was a really good player and vital to that team's success. So, we say rest in peace, Jake, and hope that, your family and friends can gain strength from what he was able to bring to all of us.
Well, good hockey teams, good high school hockey teams have to have good third lines. That's the difference maker, really, right? And when you get to that next level at the high school level, to have a third line that can contribute and hold their own out on the ice and do more than just hold your own out on the ice.
He worked really well with his center Kevin Lally, give and go, coming into the zone 2-on-1, breaking out, things like that. So you're right. He was just he wasn't a glory guy, but he was a do anything for the team guy, and that's what suited him best. Lining up on the wing on that third line as a senior, and end of the day, you left that hardware at the Garden. It's what every kid dreams of.
Willie, how about the Masco girls hockey team? What's the latest on that? We talked about that a week or two ago as well.
The team is on. The erroneous reporting in the Boston papers that was not discussed in this podcast has been proven to be such. So they're keeping their team, and that's that. They were never going to join another team, and new report's going to go off and do their own thing. But like we said on this podcast, the AD hadn't made any decisions yet. All the options were on the table, and they've determined that the best option is to keep their own team, get a middle school waiver, and off and running. So good news for the whole community up there at Masco, that's for sure. And, good lesson. It's better to be right than to be first for all you journalism students watching the podcast.
Really?
Would you say that's a case where the court of public opinion maybe swayed the vote a little bit there?
Well, I think that, the options were presented to the parents, and the parents voiced which option they liked best. And I think that, the misinformation perhaps that was out there about the number of kids that Masco was going to have was a big factor. I mean, I saw a few, Masco's only got 5 kids, things like that. No, it's about, 12 plus middle school would get you up to about 18. So, I mean, that's a huge difference. And I think, with kids not being in school right now, in the spring rather, not knowing maybe who from Masco Middle School was going to go to the high school or go somewhere else, things like that. I I think it was an honest mistake, the numbers. I don't think anybody was trying to pull a fast one, but once they did their signups for summer hockey and saw how many kids they had, it was a lot more than we're ever going to fit on, some other team. That's for sure.
One other topic, Phil, I know you guys did a story this week on Colleen Corcoran from formerly of Bishop Fenwick, basketball player, and now a women's basketball coach at the University of Albany.
Yeah, remarkable story. I mean, Colleen's 22 years old. She's going to be coaching Division I college sports. So she will be, in charge of players that may be less than a year younger than her, which is kind of wild when you think about it. But great opportunity came along for her. Of course, I'm sure many people listening remember Colleen as a fantastic player at Bishop Fenwick, 4-year player for the varsity, 2-time Salem News MVP, 2-time Catholic Central League MVP, led Fenwick to the state finals, and they won as a senior Division III title. Just a terrific all-around player, but a great leader too. And she went on to play in college at Lemoyne College up in New York, Syracuse. And it was funny, well, not funny, but maybe ironic in the sense that, she got there and she was primarily a bench player for 2 years. Sat and watched, learned the college game, learned from her older teammates. I don't know if transformed is the right word, but, became more of a cheerleader from the bench, always inspiring her teammates, things like that. Was voted a captain as a junior. Team had a terrific year, saw a lot more playing time, best ever record they had. Voted captain again as a senior. Was actually not scheduled to start. There were 2 sophomores that were going to start, but one of them got hurt, so she stepped in and ended up playing all year. So long story short, her coach is good friends with the University of Albany head coach. And that coach mentioned that they might need an assistant coach after this year. Colleen Mullen is her name. She reached out to Colleen Corcoran. And, Colleen at the time was still in season and kind of focused on the playoffs and all, and didn't think much about it. Then, of course, the season gets shut down. The pandemic's going on. Coach reaches out to Colleen again and says, hey, we still got this position open if you're interested. And Colleen, I think at this time, had thought about her options, what she was going to do after school. She was about to get a degree in communications. And just thought, geez, the way the season ended abruptly and she never got a chance to really finish what she hoped to with her college career. This was a great way to stay in the game. And she found that it was a way to stay in something that she really loved and could give back to to others, what she's learned from her teammates and coaches over the years. So she'll be moving a little bit east of New York from Syracuse to Albany and serving as an assistant coach for the Great Danes of Albany. So it's a nice story for her.
Well, she'll save some tolls heading back to the North Shore, moving to Albany. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
She said, 3 hours door to door, Beverly to Albany. So
let me ask you guys this: what is the mascot of the University of Albany?
The Great Danes.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
Now, what is the mascot of Lemoyne College? That's even better.
Oh man.
Because what do you think of when you think of upstate New York?
Think of cold or ice or lacrosse.
So
I
it
don't
makes
know.
a ton of sense that the nickname is the Dolphins, right?
The Dolphins?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the Lemoyne Dolphins.
Okay.
Buffalo's in that area, yeah.
Yeah. It's all right, though,
All right, gentlemen, we have a few more minutes left. Hey, I got to compliment you, Phil. I saw I think it was an watch out here, yeah. I saw an Instagram here where looks like you've lost there's less of Phil Stacey now than there was before the pandemic began. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes.
A lot of us put on weight when the pandemic started, but
I'm guessing a lot of us didn't have my diet before the pandemic, so that probably had a reason to go. I mean, hey, sports writing is not great for those of us who are trying to watch what we eat or not
Yeah.
watch what we eat in my case. You're working nights, you're grabbing food on the run, you're shoveling down a pizza at your desk while you're, trying to get work done or whatever. So, yeah, when the pandemic started, I didn't have my usual, take out a bunch of nights a week. Just kind of ate what was at home and what my wife made, and got into a habit of regularly exercising, and lost 50 pounds. So good start, I guess.
Well,
It's like
congratulations.
thank
Congratulations.
I tell my friends it's like throwing a deck chair off the Titanic, but it's a start anyway,
I saw you in Beverly in June, right? At the
Yeah, the
Moynihan Lumber
Moynihan thing.
student athlete thing. And, I
Yeah.
didn't, I wasn't sure you had lost weight or anything at that point, but I know you didn't say anything about me about dropping 2 pounds either. So, so, whatever, it's the same thing for both of us. Yeah. But,
Well, it's nice. A lot of my clothes are getting baggy. This is one of my Pete Frady shirts here that is a little bit roomy now, but I still want to be able to rep it. And it's good. It's nice. I get a lot of people, beeping at me doing this or whatever when I'm doing my stuff. So around town here. So feels good. Thanks.
Nice.
Willie, you can't afford to lose any weight, by the way. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm sure you're still
Yeah.
running around. You're still running around the streets of Peabody, I imagine, right?
Yeah. We try. Just trying to stay active,
He and I would eat the same thing, but he never gained a pound because he runs like a maniac. So I finally took a page from his book.
Yeah, that's really all it is. Just, put the miles in so you can don't have to worry about stuff, I guess. That's all.
But but you are right about the lifestyle, Phil. I mean, when you're working different things or working extra and stuff, you do find yourself, I'm in the car for 40 minutes or 30 minutes, I got to grab something to eat. And when you're in the car for 30 minutes or 45, whatever you're driving, there are no good food options out there. I've been through that as well. I mean, you're going through a drive-through window, you're picking something up. It's never a great option. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But
well, I think I just have to, as my wife says, and she's right, I think the test will be once this is all over, and if we go back to a normal cycle, it's just not falling back into bad habits. So
you'll do fine.
Considering I've thrown out some clothes, I probably can't afford to go back. So, see what happens.
Yeah, one way to look at it, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you'll be getting any hand-me-downs from Matt Williams, though, anytime soon, though.
I don't think so, no.
Well, if you need an OJ situation, we'll make sure it doesn't, so you get acquitted, it doesn't fit,
Yeah, it's something else, that's for sure.
Hey, let's say we got. Go ahead, Phil.
I thought you were going to say something about my hair, actually.
That was the other piece too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got like a mullet in the back here, for crying out loud. It's been like 5 months since I got my hair cut. So.
Well, that looks good. It looks fine.
See, I like the high and tight. That's my style. But I don't know. Hey, it is what it is.
All right. I think we've pretty much used up our time here. But if you guys want to take a 30 seconds, minute to add anything else, what else do you want to share with us?
We've seen some good baseball being played this summer. We know we've talked about the Navigators, but shout out to those guys in the North Shore League and the Intertown Twilight League that are playing shortened seasons, but still getting out there playing ball. And they're, of course, a lot of those guys are masked or socially distanced or whatnot. So shout out to them. And also the Essex County Baseball League, the high school and recently graduated high school kids. Good to see all those guys playing.
Yeah. Matt, anything from you?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, Navs are having a tough time. They're missing Sal Frelick right now. He's supposed to be back this weekend. And that Essex County League now, we got a three-way tie up at the top of the standings. Newburyport, Peabody Middleton, and Beverly Salem, all with 2 losses. So I'm not really sure if they're going to have playoffs or like a World Series or if it's just like a premiership, top of the standings wins kind of thing. But, we got a good old fashioned pennant race on our hands. So that should make for a nice 2 weeks here.
Well, gentlemen, always good seeing you. See you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, guys.